Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Track by Track. And we are here with Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome. I am so glad that you're here to talk with us about your album. And it's called American Sun, everybody. So let's get started. All right. So I want to know about this album, recording it, and the process behind it. How was that experience for you?
It was, it was really a different experience for us this time. This was our fifth studio album, and it was our first time doing it under a label and doing it with somebody as professional as Casey Woods here at the Insanery in Nashville. We've recorded everything else in Texas on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of produced a lot of that on our own, winging it. This time we had so much more guidance from Casey, from our manager, David Corlew, just bouncing ideas back with those guys. So it was awesome. It was the best recording experience I've had so far.
That's great. So was it completely different than doing it in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, recording's recording. You're making music. You're always bouncing ideas. But this atmosphere that we had was just so laid back, and it was just a really creative atmosphere for us, and I think it worked out really good.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the title track, American Sun. I want to know what went into this song and what it's about.
So I had the idea for American Sun about 2.5, 3 years ago, and I actually recorded it on my phone, just this little snippet, and it stuck with me for a really long time. I didn't start writing the actual song until about 1.5 years after an original idea. And I started sitting down, and I was like, this just seems like it would be an awesome title track for a record. And I think when I started writing it, it was kind of more of, before music, I was in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. And so I carry a lot of those values with me today as far as, just how I was raised and everything. And it was kind of more like thinking about the people of this country that built this country, and how there's that attitude of, or a spirit, I should say, of the never backing down, never going to quit, always pushing forward mentality, and that has got us to where we are as a country. And when I started writing it, I also wanted to dive into the aspect of, like, we haven't always made the right decisions either. I mean, we've definitely waived, there's so many things that we look back on our past saying, like, man, I wish we could have done that different. And that's where the first lines say, this land is hard, this land is mean, this dirt is red from the blood it's seen. That's kind of referencing that, like, we've had our problems in the past, but I think one of our things that's great about us is that we've forged past a lot of that and tried to correct it or make it right. For me, I'm a country boy. Like, I like my guns, I like my, all that good stuff. And so it was kind of my way of relaying that message of the American spirit, even though it really, if you read it word for word, it is what it is, but there's a lot more saying behind those words, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And the coolest thing about it is that we got Charlie Daniels to sing on it.
Oh, see? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He sings on that track.
All right. So next up is Huntsville. I got to know about this song.
So Huntsville has actually been around for a really long time. I wrote that song probably, I don't even know, back in 2004, 2005. And it was actually a story about a buddy of mine I was in the Marine Corps with. and he came to our unit and fell in love with a girl in Oceanside, California. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, and all of us Marines always told the new Marines coming in, don't mess with the girls from Southern California because they know that Marines leave for at least 6 months out of the year and they get paid on the 1st and the 15th of every month, you know. But he met this girl and he swore he fell in love with her, and so he got married to her right before we were shipping off over to Iraq in 2003.
Oh, wow.
And he wrote her a letter every day that we were there, and he never once got a letter back from her. And she basically had taken off with everything. When he got home, found out that she had taken the car. She'd cleaned all of his money out from his bank account that he had made overseas. Really bad. So needless to say, what he wanted to do was to track the old girl down and, do Marine things, I guess. So we all convinced him not to do that. And so we ended up writing a good old-fashioned murder ballad revenge song. And that's where Huntsville comes from.
Okay, now I'm going to hit you with Pistols and Pearls because that's a classy title, and I like it.
You know, I was actually messing around with the beginning of this song in my office, and I had the first verse down, and my wife came in, and she's like, "What is that?" I said, "It's a new song I'm working on." And she was like, "I love it. You need more songs like that because I don't write very many songs for the ladies." And it was basically kind of about my wife. And so we've been together for almost 13 years, and we've never written together or anything like that. And I said, "Hey, you want to come help me with it?" And so she's like, "Yeah, sure." And so we sat down and started writing this song and knocked it out in about 45 minutes. And it's kind of just one of them things. And actually, the title track, I can't remember where it was at, but I saw a sign somewhere of like a vintage shop that said, and the name of it was Pistols and Pearls. And I kept that in my back pocket for like 2 years because I'm like, that'd be a really cool song. And then when I started writing it, honestly, I started writing it because I thought it would be a good T-shirt for merchandise. And I was like, that'd be really cool to put on a T-shirt. I should write a song so I can put that on a T-shirt and sell it at shows. And it turned out to be one of my favorite songs on the record. I love it.
Now, did you make the T-shirt?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sell them every night, too.
There you go. You got to get one. The next one we're going to talk about is Time is Money. So tell me about that.
Yeah, that one, that was the first song I wrote when I moved to Nashville. My family and I lived in Texas before coming up here. And I came up, we actually made the decision really fast to move here. Like within 6 weeks, we made the decision, and my wife and 4 kids and animals packed up and moved to Nashville. And we rented a house online before ever looking at it.
Oh, wow.
So I came out a little early just hoping that we made the right decision. And so I was just sitting in my living room with an empty house. I had a chair, a blow-up mattress, and my guitar to keep me company. And I just started writing this song, just kind of reflecting on, one, the move and just what got us to that point. And, but more importantly, like, I'm not a things person. I don't have to have things. Like, I don't need the newest and the greatest of this or that. Right. Like, I'm pretty modest. So like, but the idea behind it is cherishing the moments with people and cherishing the experience of life, not so much the new cars or the, new four-wheelers or, having to compete with the Joneses, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, just kick back and enjoy what we got, So that's where that's coming from. And it was the first song I wrote when I actually moved here. And it's a slower song, but it's one of my favorites. It's called Time is Money. They say time is money and money is time. I could find some better things to do with mine, but you can't take them with you when you go. A man's true worth ain't what he owns. Ought to spend more Sundays sitting in church. Ought to spend more Mondays spreading his word. I don't worry less and cast no stones. But there ain't nothing wrong with a rolling stone. And I wanna live like there's no tomorrow. And I wanna wake to the rising sun, watch it fade when the day is done. They say hope is something that you never let go. If you love someone, you gotta let them know. It's not what you take, it's what you leave. And your word ain't nothing if nobody believes. And I don't wanna live like there's no tomorrow. And I wanna wake to the rising sun, watch it fade when the day is done. And I wanna live like there's no tomorrow. And I wanna wake to the rising sun, watch it fade when the day's done. They say time is money and money is time. I could find some better things to do with mine.
Okay, so next up we have Story of My Life. And that is a pretty awesome title in itself. And I know that a lot of people can just listen to that title and think and imagine what that song is going to be. So tell us what that is.
So a buddy of mine, John Jeffers, from a band called Whiskey Myers, which is one of my favorite bands. Those guys are some of my good friends. He brought this idea to me. And it's basically, it's when you've been on the road for a long time and you do it, and maybe you didn't have kids before, and then all of a sudden you're married and you start having kids along the way, that time on the road isn't the same as it once was. And it gets a little harder because you're still trying to be a family man, but you're still living the road life of a musician. And when he brought that idea to me, it just resonated with me. You know, I got a wife and 4 kids, and we've grown that over the years that I've been out on the road touring. So I obviously just jumped right on it, and it was just it was a catchy tune to me when he first brought it to me. And so we sat down and we actually wrote it over text message. We were recording stuff and texting back, and then I would record something and he'd add on to it.
Wow.
And then we go back and forth, and we ended up with the final part of it. And I love that song. It's one of the really cool ones on the track because Casey Wood brought in some amazing background singers on it. Because one of the things I wanted is I kind of wanted a little bit of a throwback of, you know, some 70s Skinnerd in a new way, you know. And I love the way that thing came out.
Well, I think it's an incredible story to be told too, and the fact that I don't think people think about that. You recorded over text message, the amazing, benefit of technology these
Oh
days.
man, text message. I've written songs on Skype and FaceTime and all that good stuff.
Oh, wow.
This is called Story of My Life. Wait up on me, listen to your mother, take care of your brother and the little ones too. Daddy's gone for the night, maybe just a couple. Is that last week or was it this one too? Man, it's getting hard trying to keep my act together like I'm supposed to. It ain't easy pounding the pavement like we're used to. Man, I can't get right every town, every night I wake up on the floor at noon. A self-made music man, bet it on black. If you win it, you can let it ride. Maybe she was right. That's the story of my life. Though I hadn't called, no, it's been a while. I swear I'll make it up to you when I get through. Don't remember where I've been, don't know where I'm going, but babe, I gotta go, I got a show to do. Man, it's getting hard trying to keep my act together like I'm supposed to. It ain't easy pounding the pavement like we're used to. Man, I can't get right every town, every night I wake up on the floor at noon. A self-made music man, bet it on black. If you win it, you can let it ride. Maybe she was right. That's the story of my life. Ain't it crazy how the time goes by, yeah. Ooh. You can't fetch the water when the wells run dry. Man, I can't get right every town, every night I wake up on the floor at noon. A self-made music man, bet it on black. If you win it, you can let it ride. She was right. That's the story of my life.
So I'm smiling because we're going to talk about my favorite song, Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
I got to know about this song.
I wrote this song with one of my favorite songwriters, Brandon Jenkins. We went to his house and we wrote a couple songs that day. And I had an idea in my book called Broken Arrow. And he actually had one in his book called Broken Arrow. And he's like, I got this idea with Broken Arrow. And I was like, dude, I have that written down too. It's meant to be, let's do it, you know? And so it was kind of one of those things for me where it's kind of a song of feeling a little used. I'm trying to the best way to describe it without giving it away too much, because it's a little personal for me as well.
Okay.
You feel like you've been used and you didn't really care why you were in the position that you were, because you just enjoyed the position that you were in, and you wonder if you'll ever be able to do that again, kind of thing.
Right.
So I love the way that song came out. It's one of my favorite on the record. It's one of my favorites to play live. And it was awesome writing with Brandon on that song because he's a brilliant songwriter. I just got the most respect for him. So, yeah, without divulging too much information, I had never thought about it on a broad spectrum because I actually might piss a lot of people off if I tell you the truth. So.
Well, then we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to try not to stumble. New York City, king size Rosewood bed.
Got it on the first
Wow.
try.
Okay, tell me about this song. It's a mouthful.
So out of 13 tracks on the record, I wrote or co-wrote 12 of them, and this is the only song that I didn't have a part of writing.
Okay.
I was cruising. We were doing a show out in Vegas, and I was cruising back to Nashville, and I decided that I was going to listen to every Charlie Daniels song that I could possibly find on my phone. And I came across New York City King Size Rosewood Bed, and I listened to it, and it wasn't Charlie singing it. It was his old piano player Taz that was singing it on the record. It was on his 1974 Fire on the Mountain record, and
Okay.
I just kept repeating it. I was like, man, this is a jam. And so I called my manager David Corlew, who also manages Charlie Daniels, and I said, hey, who wrote this song? And he said, Charlie wrote it. I was like, do you think he'd let us cut it? And he said, I can ask. And so Charlie gave us his what's it called?
Blessing.
His blessing. He gave us one of those. And we came in and recorded it, and it was one of the most frustrating songs I think that we did in the studio because, first of all, the Charlie Daniels Band are great musicians. Trying to cut something that they did was really, it wasn't that it was like just super hard. I mean, but they're just so good, and you wanted to do it right.
Right.
And so we got in there and we listened to it, and we just couldn't catch the groove on this song. And I think it was Casey that was like listening to it, going, I think that the beats change in the middle, like the beats per minute change. And so we listened to the beginning of the song, and the beats per minute were X. And then the middle of the song, they went up like 2 or 3 beats per minute.
Oh.
And that's why we just couldn't catch that groove. And so we caught that and finally got it put together. And then even then still, it just didn't feel big enough. Like it didn't feel like we were capturing what they got. And so Casey also went back in. I think he put some bongos on it to kind of make it a little bit more just all over. And then it was just, that's it. We got it. We hit it. And it was a really cool song. It made us better musicians, I think, to cut that song.
Right. That's incredible. And how does Charlie feel about it?
I think he likes it.
We will have to ask him.
He hadn't called me and told me he hadn't. So
Well, good. Good. Okay, so we're going to talk about this town, but I have a question for you first.
Yeah.
When you play this live to a new town, do you play this song live to new town?
Yes.
Okay, do they get fired up when you sing this town? Because every time I've ever heard a song played live that is about a specific city, the artist makes it about their city and the crowd goes wild.
No.
Okay.
No, because this town is not a good, it's not a good vibe for a town.
Okay. Well,
It's not a
explain
good-
that to us.
So I wrote this town because of there's a place in the world in which somebody that very close to me lives, and I'm not a fan of it. And it's a place where a lot of people just complain about everything, and they sit around and it's nobody wants to do anything about their circumstance kind of place.
Yes.
And it's basically saying if I don't get out of this town, if I don't get out of here, this town's gonna kill me yet. And it's basically saying like I need to make a decision. Like there's so much bad things going on here that either I'm gonna fall with it, or I need to get the hell out of Dodge, you know?
Right.
And so it's definitely not one of those songs that the town, after, at least when you know, after they hear it, they're probably like, yeah, I hope he's not talking about this town.
So it's the opposite.
But no, that's one of my favorite songs on the record. I love it. I could say that about every song on this record. I'm so proud of this record. I'm proud of every song on this record. There's not a B-side track to me. Every song is the best we've ever done. And I can't say that about any of the other records we've done. There's always kind of the songs where I'm like, they fit on there. It's okay. But like these are the milk, bread and butter. To this song, this record, I love everything. I love everything on it. So that's one of my favorite songs too.
That's good to hear. All right, you ready to talk about Georgia?
No.
No, but we're gonna. You have to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So tell me about Georgia.
It's a state in the southern part of the United States. It's hot in the summertime. It's on the coast of the Atlantic.
I love him.
Georgia is my favorite song on this record. And when I say favorite, I know I've said that all these other songs are one of my favorite songs on the record. This song is my favorite song on the record. Hands down. To me, it's our masterpiece on the record. I wrote it about somebody close to me, about some of the things that they were going through. And it started out on a guitar. When I first started writing this song, it started off with a guitar and a harmonica. And I never really played a harmonica before. And so I was just kind of practicing it to the same structure as this song. And my wife came in and said, when did you learn how to play a harmonica? And I was like, I just started messing with it. And she's like, it sounds really good. And so I just kept going with the groove of this song, and then I just started putting words to it, and it just kind of stumbled. And then I brought it to the guys in the band, and we would mess around with it during sound check. And we sat on that song for probably 2.5, 3 years maybe. And it was one that I knew, though, that I wanted to record because I could hear it in my head of what I wanted it to sound like. And Casey Wood literally just blew it out of the water, in my opinion. Like, got everything that was in my head that I wanted to get out of that song onto a track. And it starts off real slow with a piano, and it just gradually just becomes this huge thing at the end, like almost Freebird kind of style at the end. The backup singers, all the work on it, the guitar work, it's my favorite song, and it's a personal song for somebody really close, so It's pretty cool.
Have they heard it? Are they happy with it?
Yeah, they play it every night.
That's what it's about.
Well, when we were actually looking for producers, David Corlew, we had a few names in hand, and David Corlew brought Casey to the table, and he said, hey, this guy is kind of like in the family. He's worked on a lot of Charlie records and Charlie Daniels records, and up until that point, everything I've done since I've been in Nashville, whether with the booking agency at APA or signing our record deal with Bob Frank over at Red River Entertainment, it's always kind of been in that family of people that worked with the Charlie Daniels crew camp or with Charlie himself. And so when he brought Casey to the table, I was like, man, it sounds like we just keep it in the family. And so I met up with Casey, and we just hit it off right off the bat, I think, and I felt great about it.
Yeah. David called me up and he said, we got this band and they're opening for Charlie every once in a while. And I told myself I was never going to manage another act, and I'm going to manage another act. And he goes, you want to make a record with them? I said, well, yeah, let's meet up.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And the other thing that was great is, usually before you make a record, you have to pick a bunch of songs. And you had already done all that work. You had all these great songs that you'd already weeded through the pile, and you knew what you wanted to do, and that was fun, and we had a cover tune, and that was tough.
It was.
Chasing Charlie's tail on probably his most obscure cut ever.
Probably, yeah. I don't know why I picked that one.
Because it's awesome. It's groovy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, throughout we kept talking about seeing if we could get Charlie to participate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he could play fiddle on something or play some guitar or sing something. And ultimately we sent him a couple things, and he said he really wanted to sing a part on American Son. Mm-hmm. So we took it out there. You laid down a guide like this is what this is supposed to be, but do your thing. And Charlie, I went out to his studio and I played him the track, and he looked at me and he said, "Scott writes these tunes? Man."
That's awesome.
And I thought, okay, so he likes it. And then when he got out into the studio and he started singing on the mic, you could just tell he was like, "Oh yeah, I got this. I got this."
that by far is the most memorable moment for me making this record. I mean, it was awesome just being here with you and the guys, and it's that camaraderie of joking around and messing around and being creative. But the first time I heard Charlie's voice on a song that I wrote when I was sitting in my car, and I plugged it in, and I tell you, man, I got goosebumps all over. My eyes watered up. I was like, is this real life, man? Like, you know, I was in high school riding around in an old pickup truck and going to high school rodeos, I listened to Chris Ledoux and I listened to Charlie Daniels. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much about it.
Yep.
And I was just sitting there thinking, like, is this keep pinching myself, you know, like, this can't be real. Mm-hmm. And his voice is just so iconic. And when it comes up on that song, I mean, I've listened to that song now probably 1,000 times, and I get goosebumps every time.
You're getting your Spotify spins up.
Oh yeah, man! I'm on Spotify. Like, well, let's hit that American Son again. Let's hit it again.
17 million more, and I'll make $10.
I'll make a couple dollars.
There was one.
That wasn't the truth, though.
You can make an app for that. Just the Scooter Brown app that just keeps rotating songs of yours through Spotify.
That's a great idea.
When people are sleeping.
Yes.
I know there's a band that's already done that, so I'm not being original. There was that one night we were recording, and it was the last night we were tracking, and I can't remember what song we were recording, and there was a knock. You know, the studio's in a residential neighborhood, and there was a knock at the door. And I opened the door, and there was a drunk woman on the steps. And she had her ashtray with a cigarette in one hand and a glass of wine in the other. And she said, "You don't know me, I live down the street, but I've been listening to your music for the last couple nights out on my patio, and I just thought I would come hang with you." I don't know where she lives, but she saw the band trailer, and she thought, "Oh, these guys must be cool. They're making music every night." I didn't realize we were that loud.
I forgot about that. And we were like, "Hey, come on in. You want to make a record?" We need the drunk wino lady singing some background vocals.
I think I told her she could just hang out on the porch.
Just stay out here.
Just
blow the smoke that way.